Welcome to Breaking 70, Race Against Father Time, Chasing Dreams and Defying Time with Brian Bailie.
Hey there, GolfCask Nation, this is Brian Bailie bringing you our next episode of Breaking 70. I was planning on being at the golf course this week and I did shoot some video, but I'm gonna release that next week because I got a bunch of questions from last week's video. So I wanna answer those and then we're gonna add a new feature based off of that question. And then like I said, we'll show you the video next week of on the golf course training. So, the big question I got was, I love the fact of understanding low point and arc height was massive for a lot of people. So a lot of people don't think about how they're interacting with the downswing as well as where the club head is entering or hitting the turf. So that was a huge eye-opener for a lot of you, which is awesome, because once you understand that relationship, man, it gets disproportionately easier to be able to hit thousands of different golf shots. So the question I got from a few of you were, I'm doing this, but I'm really struggling to control low point and I'm really struggling to control arc height. That is a big issue, right? So what I find a lot of times when I'm working with students, I've been coaching short game now for over 20 years, I see a lot of players, rhythm and timing being a key factor that holds them back. And what do I mean by that? So a lot of times, and kind of what we talked about in putting, if you've seen some of our putting videos, as you start to accelerate, as you start to pull on the handle with short game, it can create all kind of issues. So having a good cadence, timing, tempo, rhythm, understanding how you're trying to move in time and understand how to control time, if you can kind of start to understand that, entry points, low points, path shapes, bending paths, controlling face, all those pieces get disproportionately easier when I can move in time correctly. So think of it this way, if I'm taking a club and my rhythm's off, if I pull really hard, I'm actually gonna put a load on the shaft. And you gotta remember, this head's gonna be working in three-dimensional space. So as I start torquing, pulling, rotating on the shaft, this head is gonna react to it. So what we need to do is be able to create a rhythm that allows us to be able to return the club back to a position that we want it to be in, right? So we want the club moving at a certain speed, coming in at a certain angle, and moving in time correctly. What we also have to remember is on the putting green and around the green, this is a finesse sport. So all the big factors that we use in the full game don't really translate over. So I always, for my players, I always get them to think when you're around the green, it's finesse. When you're on the green, it's finesse. When you're hitting into the green from distance, it's more power, and then off the tee, it's power as well. So we've got to understand what it takes to be soft. We're trying to control distance and control how the ball reacts when it hits the turf. That is the key to short game, and of course, putting the same way, I'm trying to hit at a certain distance on a certain line, so the ball will end up somewhere near the hole. So a lot of players don't think of finesse. So when we think of finesse, what we have to do is we change our rhythm, we change what we're doing. So generically, short game and putting rhythm is going to be a 2-to-1 ratio. It takes me twice the amount of time to get to the top of the swing as it does to get to the finish. For chipping, it's roughly the same, about twice the time to get to the finish. For full game, it takes about 3 times the amount of time to get to the top to get to the finish. Everything's moving at a much higher speed on that downswing, right? So what you can see in putting and short game, they're cousins, and the timing of the motions are very similar. Again, it is a weak finesse game. We are taking away power. That's why our feet get a little bit closer together. That's why we stand the putter shaft or the wedge shaft up a little bit higher, and we're gonna be weak. We're gonna be finesse oriented. So we're gonna talk about rhythm. Rhythm works just like we did in talk about putting. We're gonna introduce syllables in our head. Are we moving the wedge back to dog? Are we moving it back to donut? Or are we moving it back to Virginia? So by changing the syllables, it's gonna change how fast I move the club in time. So again, what we need to do is figure out how to move in time where we can control where we don't lose the shaft. So if we need to move slower and longer, that's fine. Maybe I'm a shorter, quicker motion, that's fine as well. But even when I'm moving short and quick, I don't have to be so violent that I bend and create issues as I'm swinging through the club. So we're going to discuss rhythm. We're going to do a couple things indoors, and I might go outside in the cage and show you a couple things with rhythm for this week. And like I said, we will actually apply rhythm and, of course, everything, the skills that we talked about last week. The other question I got, and I love this fact that I actually record on the week. So I release something, I don't record for a couple days later, so I give you time to ask questions, to direct message me, to email me, for GolfCask members to actually go into the 19th hole, ask questions, and then I actually kind of take those questions and reformulate what I'm going to present. The other piece I got was, how can I take those 5 skills and implement that inside of training better, which I think is phenomenal. What a great question. The ability to hit all 5 skills is important, so I would train each one independently off a good lie and just say, can I do these? And then the next step would be to add a variability. So I would go to a lie and I would change my low point and entry point. So I would hit shots to the same pin, but I would vary how I'm interacting with the golf ball. Am I down? Am I across? You know, am I shallowing early? Am I my entry point at the ball, before the ball, after the ball? What is my low point? So basically hitting a bunch of different shots by varying different pieces of skill will create different shots. And then the beauty of that is you start to create a library, right? So I understand if my low point is at the ball, I shallow out, make entry before the ball, and I'm pulling my path across left, I can hit a high, soft, weak shot. There you go. So when I need to hit a shot that's high and soft and doesn't want to roll much, that's the combination that works really, really well. And vice versa, if I need something low, hot, spinny, you know, now my low point is actually going to be out in front of the ball. My entry point is going to be probably just, with the turf, is going to be kind of just out in front of the ball, so I'm kind of clippy, and I'm going to hit a lower, spinnier shot. That's the beauty of the system. So what I would start to do is I never want a player sitting in one spot hitting the same shot, shot after shot after shot, unless you're working on a technical piece. More so, if you're going to sit in one spot, change variances. Change entry point, change low point, change path, change toe heel, center, change speed, change pieces. And now that we're going to talk rhythm, change rhythm and see what works best. You don't really know until you try it. I worked with a tour player that swore if they moved under a certain speed on the putting green as they delivered the ball to the hole, that they were much better. We tested it for months from course play inside of training, and what we found is they believed dining in the hole was their best way, but what it was is they were taught from a very young age that dining in the hole was the only way to putt. But as we got them to ramp up speed, start delivering it through the hole, their putting numbers went through the roof, and they made a whole lot more money on tour, understanding that I need to deliver the ball through the hole and not try to die it in the hole. So again, starting to understand what people have told you is right might not fit you. So we've got to play these little games and understand that. The other question I got was, I'm training, what does the lie do? We're going to do a whole lie section in the future, but I break lies down, or kind of anytime I address a shot, I have 3 main categories. One is environmental. So the first thing I do is I want to look into the environmental conditions. Where is the ball sitting? Is it sitting somewhere where I can clip it? Is it sitting down? You know, is the grass behind the ball, in front of the ball? So what environmental conditions? Is the ball wet? What are the conditions that are going to affect the shot? I'm also looking at environment as where's the pin? How much green do I have to work with? Ideally to hit a shot close, what does that look like? If I need to bail out somewhere due to an environmental condition, what does that look like? So what is the environment? Is there a bunker in the way? Is there a hazard in the way? What environmental conditions are affecting me? So that's always the first thing I look at. The second thing I look at is kind of ball dynamics. What does the ball want to do? Does the ball want to spin more out of this lie? Does it want to knuckle out of it? Does the ball want to elevate higher? Does the ball want to come out low? So again, I'm starting to think of spin rates. I'm starting to think of the ability to launch the ball. And then I also think of like contact. Am I going to be able to hit this ball crisp? Am I going to be able to get the grooves on it? Or am I not going to be able to groove? So again, I'm starting to think of ball dynamics. What does the ball want to do out of what it's sitting in? So environmentally, I'm saying this is what the environment's doing to me. From the environment, this is what happens to the ball. And then the third question is the most important. Now that I've weighed all these options, what is my best play? Knowing my abilities, what are my scrambles? My ability to high soft shot out of a rough, hitting a low spinner, what is the shot at hand that I need to hit it close? And then the next question inside of that is I'm kind of evaluating, can I hit that shot more than 50% of the time? So there's always has to be an evaluation piece that says, can I do this? Now there are going to be certain times, maybe you're playing in a match play situation and you have to hit it close, you have to hole it. That gets thrown out of that changes the formula. But I see a lot of people assess the environment. I see a lot of people assess the actual golf ball, but I don't see a lot of players assessing their ability to understand, can I pull the shot off more than 50% of the time? If I cannot pull the shot off more than 50% of the time, I know that I'm bringing in a higher chance of bogey or other number. So again, I have to manage my expectations and say, well, I could do all these things perfect, and maybe there's a 25-30% chance that I will end up within 6 feet of the hole, or I can change these configurations, play away from the hole a little bit, allow the slope of the green to work it towards the hole, but I might end up 6 to 12 feet from the hole. But the beauty of that is I can hit that shot 80% of the time. So you're going to start to learn to evaluate. Now, you can't really have these evaluation tools until you start building the short game to be able to produce it. But I think, again, this is a huge piece in your ability to take away bogeys as well as taking away doubles, triples, quads. Because a lot of times doubles, triples, and quads come from bad decisions. So maybe bailing it out and adding a couple feet. And again, put a putter and let the putter be magic. If I'm putting at 5 feet and I'm putting at 7 feet, the chance of the 5-footer going in is a much higher rate. But the beauty of it is if, 90% of the time I'm going to hit it to 7 feet and only 10% of the time I'm going to hit it to 5 feet, well, I'm not going to hit that 5-footer very often because that 5-footer turns into a 15, 20-footer. What does that mean? So again, being able to manage those expectations and weighing that risk reward in your head on every short game shot, every shot on the golf course ideally, is imperative to be able to move forward. So those are kind of the main questions I got. I wanted to make sure we answered that. So now we're going to start talking about rhythm. I'm going to shoot some stuff indoors that you can do at work, at home. And like I said, then we'll go to the cage and I'll hit a couple shots outdoors, talking rhythm. So thank you so much, and I look forward to bringing you more episodes. Keep sending questions. I love getting questions. It makes me think. And again, it just allows me to understand your needs and be able to help me share my message better. Maybe I don't exactly explain it exactly how it needs to be framed for everyone to learn. So just keep hitting me with those. And again, I love good humor. And if you want to take shots at me, I enjoy it. So cheers. I'll see you on the short game board, and I'll see you outside. All right, GolfCask members, let's talk about rhythm inside of our motion. So we're going to play the same syllable game that we did with putting. If you've seen some of those earlier videos. Here I have the orange whip wedge. You can do this with a normal club, and I'll switch over here in a minute. But what we want to be able to do is move in time, and I don't want to see a lot of flex in the shaft. And again, I love training aids that give you feedback on a skill. So what is this skill here is I don't want any of this action, right? I want to be able to swing and the shaft stay relatively straight. That means I'm not putting a lot of forces. Remember, inside a short game, we're trying to be weak. We want to be finesse. So what we're going to do here is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go donut, dog, and Virginia, right? So I can go dog, dog, dog. So I can move fast without loading the shaft. I can go donut, donut, donut. Works really, really well. And then I can go Virginia. So by having these different syllables, I can start to learn to move the shaft without pulling hard. And again, the beauty of syllables is you can take them on the golf course. I'm on the golf course, I have a shot coming up. I sit there and I go donut. That's kind of my rhythm, donut. I can actually say that in my head and I can kind of control. And plus, donuts just make me happy, just saying. So that is a good way to start thinking about rhythm and timing or even cadence. How am I moving this club in time? It's massive. So for a lot of you that are having low point issues and also bottoming out the club issues, like when are we actually making our swing arc hit the turf? A lot of that, you gotta think about it. If you're here and you pull hard on the shaft, my ability to control low point gets really, really challenging because I've sent this club, my arms and everything out racing way out in front of my body. So this club head is being thrown somewhere. It gets hard to be able to drop it where you want it, right? So by me being able to work in time, and again, the orange whip is great for this. I stole this from Rob Fales. He works with my son. It's an orange whip. Really highly recommend it. So thank you, Rob. I want to give you credit for that. But again, your ability to hit this shot without loading the shaft is massive. And we're going to take it to the cage here in a minute. All right, so now we're going to look at how can we swing this without torquing the shaft a whole lot, right? So what we want to do, I'm going to use donut. That's kind of my move. And I want to hit a nice little pitchy shot with donut, right? So donut. Pulled on the shaft a little much there, I could feel it. I didn't like that. There we go. So what we can start to see is I should be able to hit wonderful little chip shots without seeing a huge amount of bow. So I can go dog. But you can see when I move fast that shaft really wants to load up on me. And then we can go Virginia really slow. Another great drill I like to do for rhythm, I call it walking the line. So I want to swing the club back and through, find my donut, find that rhythm. And just see how many good shots we can hit in rhythm. For a lot of you, if you've never done this, oh, it's a shit show. Rocket hosels going everywhere, toe bangers, it gets ugly. But as we start to control this time and this motion together, chipping gets much easier and controlling these skills become super easy. And once we can control the skills, now we have a short game. So I hope this is helpful. I'm gonna go through and I'm gonna find a wedge and I will do a little wedge training as well. Thanks. All right, let's talk about if we don't have an orange whip, how can we do it with a wedge? Same thing, right? Same concept. Dog, dog, donut, donut, Virginia, 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 right? Can I control those times? And again, my ability to control that time is going to help me disproportionately to control entry. So let's hit dog real fast here, right? Dog. It's a way to hit it. We can go donut, donut. A way to hit it. Virginia, Virginia. Another way. So again, by using those syllables, you can see I'm starting to change how I move in time completely. And again, we can do the Johnny Cash walk the line method here. So again, we're gonna find our rhythm, whatever you wanted that to be. So again, you can walk the line, try to stay in rhythm, and hit really good shots. So these would be great rhythm drills and things to think about when you're out training next time. Like I said, next time we should be out of the golf course showing you a bunch of different drills and techniques to use to get better at your skill sets, as well as to apply it on the golf course. That's all I got. Cheers.